So it's time to give the suspensions a good service, good cleaning, especially the front forks. We're gonna change some settings in the rear shock. We may increase the spring raise just to be able to push a little bit more. But as I'm stripping the bike down, I removed all the plastics, including the rear fender and all the stuff. I thought I'm just gonna give you a quick look at the T7 race bike, the one I've made. So obviously, clearly, you can see the fuel tank is the rear subframe, blah blah. You can see how it's attached. This is my rear brake reservoir, which is a pipe. This is what we used to do on the road bikes. This is a quick disconnect for the fuel line. So if you remove the fuel tank, what you have to do is remove this. Remove obviously that plug from the fuel pump, and the fuel tank goes off. But I've just made a video and I made a boo-boo. I said I have to remove the fuel tank if I want to remove the rear shock, because the rear shock actually goes inside the fuel tank. This is the way I made it, just to save some space, you know, to get the fuel lower down, the weight lower down, all the stuff. So this is how it works. But I said a big bollocks, because I don't have to remove the fuel tank to remove the rear shock. And I'm surprised I even say that, because when I've designed it, I made sure I have the space to get to the bolts. All you have to do is remove this side plastic. So yeah, it's very simple actually. You know, it's actually easier probably than on the standard bike. You remove these plastics, you get straight with your tools, and they drop the shock, the rear shock. Anyways, this is how the bike looks like. You know, all the electrics are staying within the main frame inside the plastic cover. So just in case one of the wires, something goes wrong, it gets, you know, exposed, it's not gonna short anything. Yes, I ruined the anti-gravity battery because it's very, very light. Lithium battery, I'm not sure how I feel about them. I had bad stories, I had good stories, I had no problems with it. But yeah, everything is here. Issues are under the battery, both of them, the original one and the one for fueling. This is my communication port for diagnostics. Fuses, boxes 1 and 2, everything is here, very easily accessible. That's the starter relay, so if something goes wrong, you just pop that cover off, shorten the 2 big wires, and the engine starts. Yeah, that's very much it. Very simple. The fuel tank makes the subframe. It's very simple. And again, the main fuel is here, not on the back. On the back is just these 2 kind of tanks. It is reinforced inside. You can see the welds. There is like a reinforcement subframe. There's a bar that goes from here to the bottom here, so it's pretty much like one piece. Yeah. The airbox obviously is not there. Where the airbox used to be, there's a battery there, so we relocated the Induction, the cold air intake, to the front top of the bike, close to the front of the frame. This is how they work. There is an aluminium base, there is a velocity stack inside there, like a trumpet, and on top of that there is a KN filter with closed top, so even if it rains through the pre-filters, it will never rain into the intake. The water will literally have to go on the top there, go around, sits there, and then even if it goes in there, it cannot go because it will have to climb on top of this kind of mushroom formed velocity stack. So, plus I've been raining this bike in a heavy rain, 2 days racing in a heavy rain, paddles, mud, yeah, lots of paddles on the last round of the Switzerland Baja Championship, and then yet there's no signs of water inside. So it looks strange to say that, but it isn't. That doesn't mean I don't want to build a proper airbox. I want to get a proper airbox or enclosed so I can wash the bike properly. I don't have to be worried about, you know, getting high pressure here and all the stuff. But again, this is all prototyping, so it's good. So far, everything is, I love it. I just have to refinish it. I love the clocks over here. You know, very simple design, but it works. Now the new tank, they're gonna be exactly the same form, exactly the same couple. They're gonna change absolutely nothing. This works beautifully. Took huge amount of abuse, huge amount of, you know, well, last crash was, well, I still got my cracked ribs and all the stuff. The whole weight of the bike landed on this part here. Obviously bent this bracket very down, and I only welded up externally, a couple of welds, ugly ones I know, So when something happens, it will not drag the mine fuel. You know, they're gonna make a holes there. So I was able just to hammer this one up, which is the base for the fender, which is just one bolt, and everything was straightened up, no problems. The vent for the fuel tank directly from the cap. This is actually a nitrous fitting for the engines we use or the race cars, but it just works very good because it turns. You know, it swivels when I got the pipe there, which is quick connect. I can just remove the cap and everything stays there. So that works very well. And I say, yeah, that's very simple. I use a KTM 690 2021 seat on the top, which works extremely well. People were saying, well, but the seat is slightly narrower than the frame, you're gonna hit the frame with your legs. And I was expecting that, and guess what? Nothing of that happens. Just I never even pay attention, never hit the frame there, so that's great. Actually, I hit the clutch cover with my boots. That's more annoying than this, because this never felt anything, so everything was great. However, I want the seat slightly taller, slightly higher, about 20 mil, so I'm gonna add some padding. Now I'm gonna strip it down just to get the suspensions down, inspect all the bearings, swing arm bearings and all the stuff, how the bike is, because it took huge abuse through the whole racing season. You know, I want to clean out everything, check all the wiring, just general and just check it. But the bike performs absolutely mint, absolutely great. As you know, there's no ABS. I have this module which replaces the ABS unit, so you can remove everything. I obviously rebuild the wiring loom. It's much shorter, it's smaller. The battery doesn't have to go there. ECU doesn't have to go there. So all the excess of the wiring has been chopped off and rejoined, and everything is here. So it's just simpler. And I think if Yamaha did something like this, obviously much better quality, none of my shitty wires on the tank and all the stuff, it could potentially be a much better bike. I mean, this thing weighs 165 kilograms with no fuel, everything, and there's still about 4 or 5 kilograms to remove. So potentially, if you really want to play with this could be 160 kilograms. All the fluids are part of the fuel. So, you know, the bike has really big potential. I don't know why they haven't used it. Because it's still comfortable, you can still ride on the road. You know, the seat, even the KTM seat, so it's slightly smaller and different than the T7, but it's not much more uncomfortable. And with added padding, so it's a bit taller, I'm sure it will be just fine, just as good as the rally seat from the T7. But with not having the fuel tank here, you can move forward. You can use it almost like a big dirt bike. Now, if I had the skills of people who are more experienced than me, you know, I can do much more on this bike than I'm currently doing, and I'm doing shit at all, because, you know, results are there. You know, I got some pretty fast lap times and all that stuff, and again, I'm new to this game. Everything, well, majority of the stuff comes from the motorcycle, and it shows you how much of a potential it has. And all that bollocks, you know, the engine is sitting taller and all that stuff, which is true. I've just done the video, I'm gonna post it soon, about this bike against the old Super Tuner, which they actually put much more design, much more effort into developing this bike than the T7. But still, you know, at the end of the day, is the result that counts, and the result of this bike is just incredibly good. On the paper, it's not the best of all of them. It's probably less powerful and all that stuff. The weight is taller, the fuel capacity and all that stuff is like, yeah, but at the end, the result is better. You know, people don't complain about this stuff. You know, they're just great. And people who complain about them is the ones that usually take the new model. Before you actually come to the bike, you're only switching to the next model, because you think it's better. And I've just proved with this one, that's not the case. Anyway, the bike. So that's the Nafta, but you know how that works. My bars, I use the Husqvarna wide ones because they give me a lot of space here, so I can move my pumps, the brake pump and the clutch further in, so I can use this with one finger and massive force. You want the pump as farther away from your hands because you generate more braking force, and also the clutch is better that way. Yeah, this one, you already know, it's not really that great. So yeah, we're gonna strip it down now. Just the suspension. I'm gonna leave the fuel tank there. There's nothing to inspect. Just check the bolts, check for the cracks or anything, because it takes a huge amount of abuse. So we're then gonna set the suspensions up. This is the Rally Ride suspension. It's not Rally Ride. It's supplied by Rally Ride, but it's attractive. We're gonna go to T-Tech Suspension in London, close to London, because they collaborate with Tractive very closely. He knows these shocks inside. He said there's a couple of tricks that he can do to improve them. Also, we're gonna inspect the front forks, and again, we're probably gonna increase the spring rates and try different settings. We're gonna put both front and back on a dyno just to get some data, to have a comparison between what's before, what's after, and then we're gonna go with experiment with a different stuff. As you notice, my swing arm is machined to make it longer, tiny bit, about 7-10 mil, 11 mil, I can't remember, but you know what, I want to make it completely opposite. I want to test it with completely closed. I can move this by 35-40 mil, which is quite substantial on a wheelbase. I want to move it here. So obviously it's going to change the balance of the bike, but I want to see if the bike is a bit more nimble, if it loses everywhere, or loses in some parts of the terrain of handling, or it's just going to be better in overall or worse in overall. Just experimenting, testing, so we have the data, we know what's what. And that's it. You know, yeah, so I've just made a big video about reviewing the bike, review this one, and then a comparison, so I'm gonna post it very soon, probably today or tomorrow, as soon as I have a time. There's not gonna be much editing, because it's pretty much, I'm just gonna put it as it is, no cutting, no bullshit, and yeah, that's it. High fender, I'm not a fan of the high fender, but it does the job because it really covers the radiator, but also covers the area that the airflow through the radiator, and may not cause overheating issues, all the stuff. So what we did some vents. They really help. Don't solve the problem completely, but they do help. A mesh, obviously because I took this out to wash the bike, I took it out, so I have to put the zip ties here, but I'm stripping it down, so it don't care for now. Yeah, it helps a little. It helps preventing the shit going inside there. Radiator still needs to be cleaned a little bit better. But again, it's good to strip the bike down, then clean it. Talking about, yeah, still this stuff on. Leave it there. That's it. Now I'm not gonna do any racing this year because the racing season is finished. I supposed to do 24 hours down to dusk solo, and obviously cracked ribs, not gonna happen. Failed round of the British Rally Championship, very gutted, not gonna do it, because again, same issue. Seen a doctor yesterday, was like, no, not gonna happen. So hopefully another 3-4 weeks I should be able to get back on the bike, and then we're gonna do some events and training. The next event we're gonna do is kill the forest with the rally moto, which is purely navigation event. It's not a race, it's just event, but I'm missing the navigation. So I really want to use this boy and navigate around and do some training regarding that, and just take some time on the bike, and that's it. And then training probably is sometimes going to be even harder than the racing, because you want to train harder than what you're going to find in racing. So yeah, that's going to be intense this winter, I think. Right, that's the bike. I will see you next video, I guess. Yeah, all right, see you soon.